Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm here with Morgan. Morgan is going to take a deep dive into her game, played this year in Toronto at the Hart House Chess Club, and they had hosted the Canadian 2024 Women's Zonal. So thanks for coming, Morgan, and take it away.
Sure, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, this is the last tournament, the most recent tournament I played in, so thought it made sense to share one of these games. I like to throw my games into lead chess, so that's where we are, and we're gonna look at this first one. My first round, I played as white with Emma Norovsambuu. So I hadn't played in a while, a little bit rusty, but it was fun sitting down across from her. I said, "Wow, you're pretty strong for your age. Are you on your high school team?" And she said, I'm not. I'm only in middle school. Okay, all right, here we go. So
Awesome. Always great to see play a future superstar.
absolutely right. And actually, several of if you look, the names of all the players I played in the tournament are over here on the left, and many of them were a lot younger than I am.
Yeah,
So it was always fun. It's always nice to see.
yeah.
But I just started off, just play normally, play e4. She played what's called Petrov defense, and this is a good one for me to show because I'm giving away nothing because I have absolutely nothing that I regularly play against this. I just do whatever. Um, Here I played the main move, took here. She kicks my knight away, and then she takes my pawn. So this is kind of how this opening normally goes. And here white can do a bunch of things. Probably the most common thing is to play d4, but I did another move, which is pretty common too. Knight c3. So just challenge the knight right away. And when she takes this off, white's got some doubled pawns, but quick development, and you can move your queen out of the way and castle over here. You can start an attack. Sometimes it leads to white goes for an attack here and black goes for an attack here, so all different sorts of things happen. But I wasn't thinking that far ahead, just kind of like, let's just open lines and play a normal game. So she develops, I develop. Um, she develops her knight. I go ahead with the plan that I was just talking about. Queen d2. She puts the other bishop out. And now I started, this is kind of the first sign of nerves probably, is like, I don't know, do I castle? And then there's like, well, probably she can't take this because then she gets stuck. But like, do I really want to go into some kind of thing that she's going to know better than me? And she's going to maybe attack me or something. So I got kind of cold feet and I thought maybe I'll just play something that probably isn't ideal, maybe, but is just like going to be simple. And I thought, well, if she's going to put her bishop on e6, maybe I'll just trade it off. So I played knight here. I don't know why I played knight there instead of knight here. I guess maybe because she could have traded this. Nothing to be scared of, just equal. So I thought, I don't know, let's just go here, take the bishop. Maybe nothing special, but at least I'll have a bishop here. So that was my logic. She plays here. I took this. She took back with the queen. I was a little surprised she didn't take with the pawn, but whatever. Now I played bishop b5, which, maybe we won't overanalyze things, but I don't really know what I was thinking, just kind of developing pieces. And she played queen d7, which totally justifies my pin here. I have no idea why she played queen d7.
Yeah.
Hard to explain that. I guess she just wanted to avoid me doubling her pawns, maybe. But no big loss if I do double those pawns. So that was, I guess her thinking with queen d7. But now kind of the decision point comes about which side I'm going to castle, and I do sort of chicken out and go king side. So that's fine. She plays here. Maybe now it's interesting, actually. A6 puts the question to the bishop. Maybe I've actually achieved enough by going to b5, just by inducing her queen to go back. Maybe I can actually just come back this way onto some like useful square. Here maybe she centralizes the knight at some point and kicks my bishop. So maybe, I don't know, and then I go and then I fall back, but I keep on this strong diagonal, or maybe d5 is coming. I don't know. So that's probably why I didn't go there. But I could go somewhere, But anyway, I went this way, maintaining the pin, which in hindsight, is kind of just encouraging her to expand on the queen side. So I'm not sure that was best, but whatever. That's what I did. So she castles, and now I play c4 mainly to stop b5, and also so I can recycle my bishop through here. Bishop f6, which is what I thought she would do. She only has so many unwinding moves, and then I play c3, blunt the bishop, and again get the bishop back. She plays queen e6, which is kind of pointing out what I was saying earlier. I don't know why she went back here, because she's now allowing me to double those pawns again. Anyway, maybe she just kind of realizes it's not a big problem. And here I thought I was getting clever. My logic was really simple. It was just like, okay, white's advantages, bishop pair. That's basically it. Black's advantages, white has a doubled pawn. Okay, so I just thought, well, if I trade off my doubled pawn, then black has no advantages, and I just have a slight one with the bishop pair. So I'm getting rid of the compensation for the bishop pair, right? So it made sense to me. So I thought, okay, great. But it does actually give black some quick development here. So it's not. I think white should basically just admit, she's equal here. There's nothing really to look at. But anyway, where comes the middle? I move my queen out of the way. Maybe queen e3 is better, just because this kind of gets clunky involved, kind of in the way of the bishop. But I really like the way she plays the next couple of moves. Queen d5, always, centralizing the queen is nice, hitting my bishop. I have to move, and she's got an immediate follow-up with knight a5, which highlights sort of the problem with putting my queen on c2, because I said part of the point of moving my c-pawns was to get the bishop down here, but now it's blocked. So b5 is going to question, like, what is your bishop doing on a4?
Right.
Right. So, like, thematically, like, I don't know why my bishop has been on a4 for a long time. Like, it's more of a target, not really doing anything. So it probably should have been on e2 like a long time ago. Anyway, that's where it is. So here I was just kind of already thinking, like, I wasn't playing ambitiously from the beginning, but now I was already thinking, okay, let's do the classic trade-off against a lower-rated player and go to an endgame where hopefully experience will win out. So I was already kind of thinking about bailout modes. That's kind of the general strategy, especially in like first round. You're still kind of jittery, like, just keep it calm, So I developed my rook. That's fine. Queen h5. I play the queen out again just so that my bishop has somewhere to go. I still had this idea that I didn't want to give up the bishop for that knight. So I wanted to move that so that I could come out here. And it's also, maybe she'll miss and hang h7. Like, that's not going to happen. But it doesn't hurt. Also, now that the pawn is moved from b7, I'm here. Like, I'm the one with the centralized queen now. She can hit it, but I don't know. I feel like I've got some coordination. The only problem is these pawns. A bishop on f6 is always, or on a long diagonal in general, is always really good against this pawn structure, because if you move the b pawn, the c pawn hangs, and if you move the c pawn, then the b pawn hangs.
Right. Yeah.
So whenever you have pawns like this, sort of in this formation, a bishop looking at them along the diagonal is generally well placed. And this is the bishop's also a good defensive piece too. If she ever plays g6 guarding that, then the bishop can just fall back. This is a very nice piece. It's the strongest minor piece on the board for sure. And then the other problem is that her knight's coming in, and it's hitting my bishop and my pawn. So she's got a lot of coordination now all of a sudden, and I'm feeling a little bit foolish. So I needed to kind of get out of this somehow as the initiative is starting to swing. And I came up with this move of bishop d4. So admitting that I need to give up my bishop pair, I need to deal with this strong bishop, and also sort of tactically coming up with a way to deal with this pawn hanging down here. Maybe she can take it.
There's a lot happening there now.
There's a lot happening here all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
So my earlier comment about let's not get too complicated may have sort of gone out the window. But the thing is, I think I can take here, and if so sort of if the knight takes, then sort of this is hanging, um,
Yeah.
and you can't use a move to do this and then take that because the rook's hanging, right? So I think you take here and what? I don't know. I don't know. It's been too long since I played this game. Um, I think it was here. I think this was the idea,
Oh,
if I'm
yeah.
remembering right. Because the trouble is that there's a lot of pressure on like this knight. So now the rook gets displaced and the knight is hanging. And it's you can probably go here. Uh, so if I take this, then I'm gonna get mated. Like this is not happy news.
Right.
So
Right.
I get mated before she gets mated. So like basically, I'm just saying there's lots of complications going on in those sorts of positions, right? So it's a little bit bluffy, but it's also a little bit like calculated this, and my my memory is a little bit flawed on exactly what happens here. But anyway, so she didn't go for this line. And of course, none of what we just looked at is force. That's just sort of like, I mean, I can throw in g4 or something to disrupt the queen with tempo. And like, there's a lot of things that you can do there.
Yeah.
But basically, it's just a way of me muddying the waters. So she sensibly trades here. I take this, and she plays rookie 8, hitting the queen. So fine. I played queen 6, queen c6, and she goes for queen e2, which actually I saw like back here. I just kind of assumed she was going to take the bishop. I don't remember all whatever I had figured out after knight takes b2, but I do remember having looked at this and thinking queen e2 is an attractive move that looks a little bit scary, just because it's hitting the bishop, it's applying pressure along here, hitting this pawn, and it's also threatening mate, right? So I figured she might go for this. Um, but from afar, when playing bishop d4, you basically had to find the solution to this move, which I had done, which is rook e4.
Right.
So I was, this is basically sort of a counter tactical punch, because now if she takes the bishop, then you take here and it's mate. So, and if you just retreat the queen somewhere, again, it's mate. So you're basically forced to take the rook. So she does, and now I can take either one. I could take here, but now I'm kind of, facing another problem. So I go here, maybe it's this pawn or something. I don't know. So I took the rook in the middle to be sensible. Takes, and we get now to the end game that I was hoping for. So hooray!
Yeah.
And I have a bishop against a knight with pawns on both sides of the board. That generally favors the bishop a little bit. Bishop and rook also typically play together a little better than a bishop and a knight. So, or sorry, than a rook and a knight. So I feel like white might be a little better here. So I was pretty happy to see this. And by the way, there was no way for her to win that b pawn right here either. Like if she'd hit the bishop, I can either threaten the rook or I can threaten this pawn. So she doesn't actually have time to take on b2. So anyway, we just play kind of a whole bunch of moves. Maybe these can be improved upon, but kind of I won't. I actually one point I will make is in this position I had thought I was so clever. All the moves that I played, I was going to play rook c6 here, and then I just not that it's brilliant or anything, but that was the plan. But then I played rook c7, and I committed this faux pas where I dropped the piece on it, and then I almost went Kasparov style and reached to grab it back, because I was like, it's not like it's a blunder. It's just that's not where I meant to put it. So I actually started laughing at the board. I started chuckling to myself, and my opponent and the people in the board next to us were like, "What's wrong with you?" They didn't say anything, obviously, but they're looking at me like, "What?" Because I'm laughing for no reason. But this is a sign of the kind of nerves and rust. You're playing in the Canadian Championship. You're feeling some pressure, and I just put it on the wrong square for like no reason. And I mention this because this will be important later in the game. Just that kind of like rattling. I don't know what I was on, what I was at. But anyway, we play a bunch more moves. You know, maybe they're not super precise, but basically, I'm trying to, you know, apply some pressure. Eventually, I want to get to, you know, either these pawns or this pawn. I'm kind of trying to restrict the mobility of her pieces. This knight is a little bit loose, and this rook is kind of, you know, doesn't have a clear plan for what it's doing and is a bit restricted by my pawns. So I'm trying to slowly outplay her, which at this point I think I'm kind of doing a little bit, but we'll see. So here I'm still thinking the b pawn is going to be weak. So a bunch of moves like this, and I do get the f pawn. She could have avoided that, but there was a fair amount of pressure, and she's doing it in return for getting in with her own rook over here. So she's given up a pawn, basically, in return for reducing the material and also like applying some, like getting a bit of a positional bind here, right? Like my king actually has no legal move. So it's going to be kind of hard for me to get out of this little box that she got me in.
And how are you doing for time here?
Oh, well, we made the time control. So yeah, the time control was you had 90 minutes for the first 40 moves, and they give you an
Okay.
extra 30 seconds to move. So, you know, it's ample time, but it goes quickly while you're playing. But then after 40 moves, you got another half hour. So at this point, we were under some pressure, which kind of explains like a whole bunch of these like kind of random moves that are like non-committal, just because you wouldn't want to play them quickly to get time. But at this point now it's after move 40, so we got an extra half hour. So we're doing okay on time.
Okay.
But it's a good question, and we will get low on time. We will get low on time later. So, you know, yeah, because here I was like, she's clearly playing for a draw at this point. I mean, she's down a pawn, but it's hard for me to make any progress. And she offered, I didn't write down. Well, it's on my score sheet, but it's not here, which when exactly she offered draws. But she offered me 2 or 3 draws during this game, and I was like, no, let's go for it. Let's keep playing. A little bit over optimistic maybe, but you know, at this point I got a pawn. I'm totally justified in playing, I think. So I kind of just, there's a whole bunch of shuffling here still. I thought it was kind of clever to get the rook back around to defend on the rank rather than the file, just so that now hopefully it's also going to defend the b pawn. Because part of the problem is when I try to get my king out, the rook's also threatening just to come across and take that one.
Right.
So it's just like, you know, more defense. Maybe this can go here, and at least she can't do anything, and I can slowly try to get my king out. So that was kind of the logic. So she throws a whole bunch of checks, goes for that, a whole bunch more checks, and it's actually like not so clear how I get out of this. But you know, we keep shuffling, and keep in mind it's already like we're talking. Look, time is starting to get an issue now because we're looking at move 66. You know, here she decides to make a move for it because I finally have broken out, and she plays h4, and it's a kind of a big decision for me whether or not to take that. She's timed it really well because if I take this, it's going to be hard to save, or impossible to save my f pawn. So it'll get down to a case of she's going to win the f pawn. I'm probably going to win the b pawn, and it'll be, you know, rook, bishop, pawn against rook and knight. And it's going to be pretty tough to win that. I mean, for one thing, she can just trade the knight for the pawn, and then I'll go rook and bishop versus rook and try to win that endgame. But it's like, it felt like getting rid of those last pawns wasn't what I wanted to do. So I pushed g4, and now she gets this counterplay. You know, I can't immediately win that h pawn, and it's pretty close to queening. So it's you know, it's a real threat. There's lots of tactics involving the knight and the pawn and the rook, but basically she's preventing me from moving any of these pieces away from defending against the promotion of her pawn or her capturing my pawns. So it's not really a winning attempt on hers. It's more just on her side. It's more just like trying to paralyze me so I can't win. And really, objectively, I think that's the case. I think I should just shuffle around and it's a draw. because like there's lots of repetition here. But you can see at this point, if I'd gone king e5, it'd be repeating. So instead, I get a little bit frisky and I go here, and she gets in, which is causing problems. So my thought was that like somehow this will work out because now we're moving 85. Now we actually don't have time and we have to play more in intuition. And now my thought is, okay, eventually she's going to cause problem for me down here and I'm probably going to lose the bishop for the pawn. But in that interim, I'll be able to do something up here. Maybe the bishop will fly out, pin that for a moment, and then come back and sack itself. Or I wasn't sure exactly what I was thinking, but I was just like, let's try something. So I start with the plan, sack this pawn in turn for f6. And the thinking here basically is you just kind of kamikaze to queen this pawn. So I'll spare you all of the different variations, partly because I don't remember them all at this point. This is a few months ago now, but also because, let's just see what happens. So she takes on h1, but now the knight is blocking the pawn, right? So I figure I've got some extra time, and I play rook g2. Now this stuff I had all worked out from about here, because I knew obviously she's going to play knight g3 here. So I'd worked this part out. And I thought, well, this is not, now I'm golden. This is great because she's got to move her king out of check or she's got to block it with the rook, right? And if she blocks with the rook, then I think, okay, take here. Who's this? Queen. Okay, she gets a queen. Take this. I'm not going to lose this, right? Because at this point, of course, I was more afraid of losing than I was optimistic about winning. So I figured this, okay. Maybe there's losing chances, but like this should drop. And if she moves the king out of the way instead of blocking, the logic was if I go here, the king's now blocking the rook from coming back, and the rook can't go here. So she actually can't stop me from queening my pawn, right? So, so if she moves, she's got to move her knight out of the way to queen her pawn, and it's kind of like, okay, well, sort of queen, like we're going to get some crazy thing like this, right? And I'm getting the queen first, so it can't be bad. That's kind of, I'm sure there's all kinds of holes in this logic, but this is like speed chess logic, right? When you're down to the end. But instead, she finds this great move, which I saw when I played rook g2, but I hadn't seen earlier, and I was really annoyed when she found this. She plays knight g3. She just throws the knight away, which is a great find because now when I take this, and she moves her king out to the side, the knight's already out of the way. Right. So now she queens first, which is a huge difference, right? And if she had just played check, she could have picked up my rook. And like the game is just over. I mean, pretty much. So I was like, but I mean, there's nothing I can do, right? At this point here, I'm committed. I've got to go for this. So we do this, and then she shocked me by playing queen e4. I was like, okay, this still looks great for black. General, it's, whoever queens first often wins because you get a whole bunch of checks. This seems like a nice threatening check. I have limited squares. When I move here, she feels like she's going to pick up the rook somehow, but it turns out she actually can't. So when she played this, I suddenly stopped. And I think I had at this point, because the last few moves had all been played pretty much instantly because they were all forced, and you're gaining 30 seconds a move, I built up some time. So here I had 2 or 3 minutes. And so I looked ahead and worked it out that's I'm actually close to winning here, or I have real winning chances. Because if I just move over here, then I just put my king on b6, and she can't actually win this rook. There's no way to do it. So what's going to happen here is she's going to run out of checks, or she'll keep making checks. And as long as I'm a little bit careful, she's not going to be able to win this rook. Because if I go here and she tries to win it with a check like this, blocking with the queen means the queens come off. And then my king is so much better than hers that I'll be able to win this pawn, right? Or that's the idea. and then try to win upon a rook endgame. So I don't know. I didn't spend enough time to actually figure out if this is like winning with best play or not, but it's pretty scary for black. So now like the emotions are going up and down like crazy, right? At first I was thinking, oh my god, I declined all these draws, went for a crazy tactical sequence that doesn't work, and now I'm dead lost. And then she didn't play it, so now I'm thinking, oh wow, I have real chances. And now the story I told you about earlier, putting my piece on the wrong square, I did the same thing here. I played this because like I have no idea why I put the this here. I think it was just at the last second I was like, oh yeah, I mean she can't check me to win this anyway because I'll interpose. So like I forgot why I had calculated that I had to go to b6, and I just played king b5. Just like it's a completely losing move because now she whips out queen b7, and I'm like, oh no, oh no.
Oh yeah, because
I
you can't go back to. You can't go to a4 there.
Yeah, well, exactly, right? Like if I go here, 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 then queen check picks up the rook,
Yeah.
and if I go to here, this is even worse than rook, right? This is mate. So at this point, I was like, despair is sitting in. At this, also, it's worth noting that there's nobody else in the tournament hall because in the first round, there's often a lot of like mismatches, and this one should have been a mismatch in terms of like elo rating. Like I'm very heavily favored to win this game. Um, so most of the first round games don't go very long, and this one here, we're on move 96. So at this point, we were not only the only game still going in the hall, but we had been the only game going in the hall for like half an hour. So the arbiters are like walking around thinking, what is happening here? And I'm like, in some like wallowing in like self-pity and like self-disgust, thinking like, how many blunders is this going to take? I'm thinking, why did I just agree to a draw 3 hours ago when she offered it the first time, or the second time, or the third time? But anyway, then I thought, okay, we got to rally here. I've got a couple of minutes on my clock. I used 2 of them or something, and I thought, okay, wait a second. It's kind of interesting that this is mating. I mean, like, it's kind of a weird setup. You don't see that very often. So I thought, I don't actually have very many squares here. So then the thought occurred to me, it's like the last hope of everybody in a lost endgame is like stalemate tricks, right?
Yeah.
Like, if my king's there, then if she's got something on this rank, I'm not gonna have any moves. So now the seeds were sown for my last ditch swindle attempt. So instead of losing a rook on the c file, I decided to lose a rook on the a file. So here, check. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. I could have gone c5 and then back, but whatever. So now I hide on a4. She takes this, and I think, okay, my setup is coming. I've got a vision here. This pawn is nicely taking away a3. My pawn is blocking b3. The rook is taking away b4. So these are the only squares I can go. So what I need to do is I need to induce her to take my queen with her queen on this rank, and it'll be stalemate. So this is the plan. So let's begin the checks. So check. Queen g5. Okay, first step accomplished. I've got the queen on the 5th rank. My king has no moves. Sadly, if I just do this, now my king can come out. So that's not going to work. So I have to throw a bunch more checks. So check, check. Now she can block, but that's not going to change anything. She's still in the 5th rank. So she decides to run her king around. And I actually think she was vaguely aware of what I was doing. Like, it's not like it was a complete shock to her. Like she did know that I was setting up a stalemate thing. But she's somewhat low on time, and not maybe quite as careful as she should be. So she just decides to like deal with it by running the king around for some reason. And I'm not. I don't know exactly what she was thinking, but it's kind of like I blundered a few times. Now it's her turn to blunder. So she goes back to g3, and I think her thinking was probably she's already been on g3. So it's like often a strategy when you're really low on time in endgames is just like play risk-free moves to get your time back, so that you have enough time to think about it. Because she knows she's winning, she's just got to figure out exactly how. And she thinks like, oh, I'm on g3. I just go back to g3, and I've gained those 30 seconds. But the problem is, yes, she's on g3, but I was on d7 last time. So it's not actually the same position. And now I have an idea that I didn't before. So I play queen f3 because this queen is now here. And I just changed my idea. Instead of trying to get her to take my queen with her queen's already on here, so I don't need her to take my queen with her queen. Like she can do it with the king. So I just throw queen f3 check, and if she takes, it's stalemate. And their only other legal move is h2. So she goes h2. I can't go queen g2 because then she'll go here, and I have a move, sadly. But I have h1, and now king takes a stalemate, and king here is a repetition. So I just repeat like this. We agree to a draw and move 106. So it's like, kind of a fair result, I think. She played, pretty well, applied a lot of pressure, took advantage of my mistakes, and I kind of got myself into trouble, then got myself out of trouble, kind of guiding the action with a whole series of like over optimistic ideas and blunders and so on. It was a great first round game, super epic, like 5.5 hours.
Well, yeah, 106 moves.
It was
Epic.
amazing.
Epic is the word for that. I mean, and in the first round, wow, right? Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, a
Yeah.
couple of different people came up to me during the tournament and afterwards in later rounds were like, "I saw your first round game," because they posted. I mean, nobody saw it in person because everybody was long gone, but they post them online after. And so whenever somebody's prepping for you, they look at your previous games, and like my opponents would be like, "So I saw your first," because everybody kind of thought it was funny, right? Like to be like dead lost and then you don't like this is the sort of thing you see in like puzzles or in like online blitz. You don't usually see this kind of like
Yes.
miraculous escape.
Yeah.
So
I've shared this
yeah.
position with a few people who want to use it as a teaching tool
Oh,
for
okay. Yeah, there you
stalemate
go.
defense. It's just yeah, it's really cool.
It's
Yeah,
funny. Eh? Yeah,
that's great.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah. Oh,
anyway, thanks for letting me show you. Like this is
yeah.
yeah. It
This is
was a fun
great.
game to play, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this might be the
yeah.
longest video on my channel yet. So thanks for that, and I'll get this put up, and hopefully we'll get some views and some comments, and we'll try to keep the Newfoundland content rolling. So
All right.
yeah,
Sounds good.
all right. Well, all right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.